Hey, what is up, guys? Robert here, bringing you another video for Friday, November 14th, 2025. So let's get started. Hey, so before we begin, I just want to ask you guys, I want to try to reach my goal, 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I know you guys can do it. We are so close. So please hit that like button, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you do not miss a Robert's Roundup each week. And let's get started into today's biggest news. Horizon is coming out with a new game, but it's for mobile and PC. So if you remember, Sony was looking for somebody to be able to hopefully make a new Horizon game at some point. Tencent, they got involved with them, ended up not working with that company. They ended up going with a new company called NCSoft that ended up happening to help make this game. Now, this game is heavily inspired by a Monster Hunter game. So you can be able to create your own character, be able to partner up with others, take down your enemies, things like that in the world of Horizon. But it's for mobile and PC at the moment. So how excited are you guys to be able to play a new Horizon MMO on your mobile device? Now, for me, it'd be tough because I will try it, but I will not focus on keep playing on my phone. I'm just not for a game specifically like that. I'm not a gamer who would just stick to my phone and try to, max level, do whatever I can. So, but there's mixed reactions online about this. A lot of people wonder why is Sony skipping the PS5? I know they want to get into a mobile market and be able to kind of come up with games like that, but it's interesting to see that for a franchise that started on console, you do not have it on console. So maybe it will come to the PS5 later. Maybe it's just a test market to see how to be able to get more PC players. There wasn't really much about it, but another thing I thought was interesting though was about the whole battle between Tencent and Sony. Oh, the lookalike of a Horizon game and things like that. And it turns out that, it was a mobile game all along. So I wonder how that's going to play out legally when Tencent, hears that a Horizon MMO is in the works and, things like that. So what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know. So this week we had a state of play, but it was all a Japanese state of play. What are your thoughts on it? I thought two things I really liked about it that stood out to me. I really captured me was one, Octopath Traveler 0 demo. So have yet to try it out. We'll probably be trying it out this weekend, so I'm excited about that. And two, that new Sony the computer monitor. That looked pretty cool, but I am concerned about price on that. Don't know if I'll get it, depending on the price. What are your thoughts? Do you think, or do you play your PS5 or any console in general on a high-end monitor, and how much would you be willing to pay? Let me know, because I don't play on a monitor. I'd like to. I'll try it out, but if this monitor is priced at a certain price, would you be willing to say, let's pay $300 for this monitor to be able to play your your favorite PS5 games on there? And yeah, I mean, it's fun. I've been trying a little bit of having share play on remote play on my computer, and being able to see how that plays from sitting at my desk. So yeah, I mean, those were the two things that stood out to me. that I really liked, I enjoyed for it. I think some of these state of plays, it's cool that they get to partner with, you know, other companies, be able to show off a few things, like, you know, but I think some of them are like, you could show a trailer on your own and people will watch it and like it and things like that. So, I think for some things, like, there's got to be a really big game with state of play. I can't remember the last state of play where it was just like, all these big games came out and everybody was excited to get like 5 or 6 games. But these days it's like some people are, they'll show a bunch of games, but some people are excited for one, maybe a couple, maybe they're gonna wait. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. What did you like on state of play? Are you a fan of this new monitor, and would you be willing to pay for it? Let me know in the comments. So our next story is we finally got Ghost of Yōtei sales numbers. Now, within the first 3 days, Ghost of Yōtei sold about 2.4 million. Projected, they still said it was lower than its predecessor, Ghost of Tsushima. But within that month sale, they sold about a little over 3 million copies. So, good for them. 3 million. If they were projecting more or less, I mean, I don't know what the projection is, but it's good to see 3 million. But it's still interesting to me to see that it took this long to come with sales numbers. Simply consider the fact that you had Battlefield within its first week talking about how they already made 10 million. So Sony, I think, unless that there was something that they were trying to hide for sales numbers, I think they should get out the sales numbers much sooner, be able to let fans know. Because I think it also helps with, you know, like, if it didn't do well, then maybe people would be like, you know what, I don't think a game is actually that bad, I'll buy it. Or if it did well and it kind of drums up interest, and people would start to say, yeah, you know what, like, I'll try it, let me play it, let me see. So I think that's my only gripe about it with Sony would be to say, hey, if all these other companies could do it much quicker, why can't you? So get the sales numbers. Now, 3 million is great. Some games don't even hit 3 million, but I mean, do you see, is like that its peak? Is it going to go higher? Is it going to do numbers of, like, you know, this year's potential game of the year, Expedition 33? We don't know. We will still see. But I've heard mixed reviews about this game. Some people like it, some people don't. I probably won't try it. This one doesn't interest me for whatever reason. It just doesn't seem like it's a game I would spend $70 on. But about the controller looked pretty cool. So maybe I'll try it when I open my controller. Maybe I'll play it with that. But yeah, so good news for Ghost of Yōtei. 3 million within the month of its release, and, you know, hopefully more. I don't like to see the companies fail, but I do think, you know, Sony can do the numbers a little bit better. So let me know your thoughts. So finally, Sony comes out and talks about the acquisition of Bungie. Now, we know it was like a $3 billion acquisition, which is great, because, I mean, it's nice to have $3 billion to spend for another company, but it didn't turn out how they expected. Now, Sony was talking about how they lost about 2 million in this acquisition, and they haven't really done much. There's been canceled games and trying to get out expansions for Destiny. It seems like that they tried to ride the wave of live service with Destiny 2, and it failed, and they could not figure out how to recoup their money and things like that. So, you know, the quote goes on to say that regarding Destiny 2, partially due to the changes in the competitive environment, the level of sales and user engagement have not reached the expectations we had at the time of Bungie. While we continue to make improvements, we downwardly revised the business projection for the time being, recorded any apparent loss against its portions of assets on Bungie. So they're saying that with evaluating now this company, they ended up not doing so hot. But, I thought they probably figured that they were going to get like, Halo or something like that. But that turned out not to be true. And then you think Destiny 2, it was popular, but then they were, trying to ride that wave, and it's not as, Destiny 2 isn't as big as it once was. So I think Destiny 2 is also kind of like at its lifespan of peak interest and things like that. So you got to think like people would either Destiny 2 or like Helldivers 2. More people are going to go to Helldivers 2 right now. I think what needs to happen is you need to, come up with Destiny 3. Maybe improve the world, improve the online. If you want to focus on live service, then figure out how you're going to be able to do live service. But I think it needs to, you need to just start working on a third game. But who knows, maybe Marathon will pick up and actually be the game that becomes really good. So we don't know. Hopefully more games come out from Bungie. It's like pros and cons, because if you can get the game popular enough that you can create the game every maybe 10 years, then hey, be my guest, do that. Get your fans, playing your game for the next 10 years. But like, if you really aren't, you're buying companies that aren't really making anything that is interest to the consumer, then I think that's where Sony failed. And I think for like Bungie, think of another game outside of Destiny 2 that you were playing on your PlayStation at the time. So hopefully they learn from this. They get better games that they could come in from Bungie, and things start to pick up and improve. So there is actually going to be a brand new Ratchet and Clank game, but not what you expect. Another mobile game that's coming out. Now, this one actually looks pretty cool. A Ratchet and Clank Ranger Rumble. So it's more of like a battle royale type of game. Now, I think this is a game you could play on your phone. But like I said, for me, I think it's only going to be a small amount of time. I'll try it. I like trying these games, but it's supposed to be on your mobile, and they wanted to kind of go with that vision. Remember, Jim Ryan had those visions of like mobile games, live service games, all this. So we're seeing it with Horizon, with Ratchet and Clank. Mobile games are going to be, we're going to try it out now, see how it works. But I think this is a game that can actually work. Now, I don't know how much like Ratchet and Clank you can play to be able to, you're going to be able to buy, skins, experience, and, things like that. But I don't know how much you're going to be able to play on your phone to keep interest, for a long period of time. So I thought it looked pretty cool when I saw the trailer, but I prefer another, like a sequel to Rift Apart or something like that. But hey, if it works and is successful, good for Sony. I personally would stay away from the mobile market, because I think the mobile market's a harder than what people are assuming, because like, yeah, it's a $1 billion industry, but you see people mostly playing more like simpler games. You don't see a lot of people on their phones playing like MMO type of games, and they're playing with their friends wherever they're going, and they're just sitting there playing mobile games. It's more something that's quick, fast paced, something that they can just get in, get out, play, and call it a night. So if this is a game that's going to happen like that, hopefully it works out for them. In other Bungie news I talked about recently, just briefly, Marathon. Apparently Marathon is going to release next year, and it's actually in a much improved state than it once was. So, just briefly talk about Marathon. We saw trailers for it recently, heard about the gameplay, and it wasn't as good as they were propping it up to be. And now apparently it's in a much better state than when they first released it. So good news there. Hopefully, hopefully, like I said previously, Marathon takes off. Bungie has a game that they can last for a while. So good news there. Briefly wanted to talk about Marathon before I jump to the next story. And our final story of the day was that Sony spent $25 million on 2 canceled IPs. One of them was apparently supposed to be a God of War game. Now, I don't know if it was going to be a sequel, a side scroller, what it was, but apparently they're canceling games after going into developing, I guess you could say, nightmares. I don't know, but the game revealed that a lot of the developers came to Yoshida and that they were making this game and said that they have to stop. They weren't able to develop the games anymore because there were so many games in early development, but it wasn't progressing like it wanted to. So they would spend $25 million on, coming up with a new idea, things like that, get through a little bit of the development, and then it would just stop. And see, that's where, like, I was sitting there thinking about this the other day when I was looking over the story. So they had $25 million to give you. Okay, so, you took it. You, like, what are you paying for the $25 million? Like, is it just mainly salaries? And, like, you have all the technology to be able to make a good game. You have is it mainly just the time you're paying somebody to put in to play that game? Like, I don't know. But I think it's kind of a lot of money to be able to spend on games that you're just going to cancel. Like, what ended up happening? You canceled those games and then that's it. A canceled project. So I think at least what could have happened was you finished those projects and then hopefully made your money back, even if the game wasn't good. But you start seeing business strategies these days where people aren't willing to take risks. Yoshida was also saying that there was also a new IP they were going to come up with outside of God of War, and then that one didn't work out as well too. So for me, I'm always I'm in that camp of coming up with a new idea, even if it's small, and you might be able to take that. You might be able to, strike gold with that and be able to create a game like a Horizon and take off and have success with that. So, sad to see throwing money around like that. I hope Sony ends up learning from that, being able to hopefully spend less money to be able to develop good games. So that's my thought on that. And that's the end of this weekly news cycle. Appreciate you guys coming to stick around this long, watching the news. You could check out my last week's video, or actually from Wednesday, where I talk about the 5-year anniversary of the PlayStation. I go into my box opening that I had when I received it, 3 things about the PlayStation 5 that's actually good within 5 years, and just taking a trip down memory lane. So definitely check that video out, as well as I am in a weekly podcast where with Dark Knight 316, where we talk about gaming, true gaming. We leave the politics out of it. From gamers, we'll give our honest opinion on the topics that we're going to talk about. We don't we see something, we don't like it, we call it how it is. We like it, we call it how it is. So definitely check out Dark Knight's page, subscribe there. Let's get it going. We'd love to be able to build the podcast together, this channel together, building up, going into next year and getting good at what we need. So thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you guys, and remember, keep gaming.